Never fall sick in a narcissist's presence. It's the moment they try to break you. Don't ever fall sick around a narcissist. Let that land for a moment, because therapists say this single warning captures something far darker than most people ever realize. When you were living inside that relationship, your health didn't decline the way people assume. It was slowly stripped away from you, piece by fragile piece. Your sleep fractured into restless fragments. Your appetite either vanished or spun out of control. Your heart raced at the slightest shift in their tone. You lived in a state psychologists call chronic trauma activation, a body stuck in defense mode, bracing every minute for the next outburst, the next insult, the next emotional ambush. You weren't allowed to relax, or express yourself, or simply exist without being shut down. You were gaslit until you doubted your own senses, stonewalled until you questioned your own worth, triangulated until you didn't know whom to trust. Emotional harm turned into spiritual erosion, financial instability, even physical decline. Clinicians see this over and over. Chronic emotional abuse eventually becomes chronic physical illness. What makes this even more unsettling is how common it is for survivors to develop mysterious health symptoms. Autoimmune flare-ups, recurring migraines, rashes, hair loss, insomnia, debilitating fatigue. These aren't random or exaggerated. They are the body waving a red flag. Trauma therapists explain that the nervous system can't live in a battlefield without consequences. Heightened cortisol inflames the body. Constant vigilance prevents restorative sleep. Emotional starvation leaves the immune system unprotected. The narcissist didn't just exhaust your mind. They fed on your energy, your optimism, your fire. They drained your emotional reserves until your physical body began to buckle under the weight of everything it was carrying alone. And when survivors look back with clarity, they often realize their illnesses were not accidents. They were the body's response to relational harm. Narcissists sense this imbalance more than people think. Their behavior seems chaotic from the outside, but psychologists often describe it as a form of emotional parasitism. A narcissist drains others because they cannot regulate themselves. Their inner world is fragmented, unstable, always on the edge of collapse. To feel whole, they need attention, reactions, emotional labor, anything that grounds them. So they take and take and take, leaving you depleted. Survivors frequently describe the moment they first noticed their health unraveling, often long before they realized the relationship was the cause. They felt tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. They felt sick in a way doctors couldn't explain. Only later did therapy help connect the dots. Their body was expressing what their mind wasn't allowed to say. Think back to the moments when you were truly ill, feverish, dizzy, barely functioning. What did your vulnerability reveal? Were they beside you, offering comfort? Or did their face harden? Did they pull away? Did they grow irritated? For most survivors, the answer is painfully consistent. The narcissist offered the bare minimum, and even that came with strings attached. Therapists call this instrumental abandonment. The narcissist remains physically close enough to deny neglect but emotionally absent enough to avoid responsibility. They drove you to the clinic but waited in the car. They picked up the wrong medication and claimed it was an accident. They promised to help, then disappeared when you needed them most. Inside their mind, your illness wasn't a moment to care. It was an inconvenience, a disruption to the emotional labor they expected from you. Your suffering was weakness. Your needs were burdensome. Your pain was your own problem. Psychologists explain that a narcissist resents your illness because it disrupts their supply chain. When you're sick, you can't praise them. You can't absorb their moods. You can't smooth over their insecurities or meet their endless demands. Illness requires empathy and sacrifice, traits narcissists simply don't have. So instead of stepping up, they step away. Instead of comforting you, they criticize you. Some even escalate their cruelty, punishing you for inconveniencing them. Others withdraw completely, secretly delighted to see you weakened because it reinforces their sense of superiority. Survivors across the world describe this same haunting moment. Lying in bed, barely able to move, realizing the person they trusted felt nothing for their suffering. And when you asked for help, anything as simple as picking up medication, you stumbled into a psychological trap. Narcissists don't forget to meet your needs. They withhold care strategically. Therapists call this strategic deprivation, the intentional denial of support to weaken you. They know exactly what you need and exactly how much you're struggling. Their neglect teaches you that you cannot rely on them, while also making you feel ungrateful for the scraps they occasionally offer. It's a cycle designed to break you down. This is why therapists warn so urgently. Never depend on a narcissist for care. Illness magnifies power imbalances. The more vulnerable you are, the more dangerous they become. They mock your symptoms. They brag about how strong they are. They smirk at your discomfort. It's not accidental, it's psychological protection. If they acknowledge your suffering, they'd have to acknowledge their own emptiness. So instead, they cling to the illusion of invincibility by dehumanizing you. Psychologists often remind survivors that health is not just physical. It is emotional and relational. Narcissists attack health because a strong, rested, grounded person is capable of leaving. A depleted person, barely functioning, is far easier to control. That is why your sleep deteriorated, why your body weakened, why your spirit dimmed. Not because you were fragile, but because you were living inside an emotional environment built to drain you. And here's the deeper truth therapists emphasize. When a narcissist weaponizes your illness, it reveals the raw core of their disorder. Your vulnerability forces them to confront something they cannot tolerate: human fragility. Narcissists repress their own vulnerabilities so deeply that seeing sickness in someone else triggers panic, disgust, and even rage. Instead of compassion, they show contempt. As the narcissist withdraws or mocks your pain, another psychological wound opens. You begin to internalize their voice. You start believing you're too needy, too dependent, too much. Therapists call this introjection, and it's one of the reasons your health deteriorated even faster. The body cannot heal when the mind is drowning in self-blame. And while you're fighting fever or exhaustion, the narcissist begins drifting toward fantasies of new supply, what psychologists call anticipatory sourcing. They imagine someone younger, easier, healthier, more adoring. They scroll, flirt, reconnect with old admirers, not because they've emotionally moved on, but because your illness has disrupted their extraction system. Your suffering triggers their craving for fresh attention. This is why survivors recall such staggering betrayal during their sickest moments. The phone left unanswered, the pharmacy run abandoned, the blatant disregard for doctors' orders. Therapists name this final cruelty instrumental neglect, the intentional withholding of care to maintain power while quietly preparing their escape routes. Because the truth is chilling. The sicker you became, the more the narcissist dehumanized you. They saw not your pain but the disruption it caused. They saw not your vulnerability, but their inconvenience. And instead of showing love, they strategized, protecting their image, securing new supply, crafting narratives for the day you collapsed or walked away. You weren't weak. You were surviving something that was dismantling you from the inside out. And your body, bruised, exhausted, inflamed, trembling, was simply telling the truth long before your mind could. There's a moment in every survivor's story when their body speaks the truth long before their mind is ready to hear it. Psychologists often say that the body breaks first, and it's true. Long before you could name the abuse, your body was already sounding the alarm. The exhaustion that no amount of sleep could fix, the sudden rashes, the stomach issues, the hair thinning in the shower, none of it was random. Your system was screaming for help, begging you to notice what your heart wasn't ready to admit. The relationship was slowly killing you. Trauma experts often remind us that the body keeps score, even when we can't yet put language to our suffering. Recovery begins when you finally understand this truth. Your sickness wasn't a flaw or a personal failing. It was the natural breakdown of a body trapped in emotional starvation, psychological bondage, and relentless stress. And the moment you escape that environment, something remarkable happens. Sleep returns in slow, precious waves. Your appetite steadies. Your heartbeat softens. The fog that once wrapped itself around your thoughts begins to lift. Your body was never the problem, the environment was. Survivors often describe their physical recovery as the first undeniable proof that the narcissist was the toxin all along. the quiet confirmation that their body had been trying to warn them for years. This realization becomes the foundation of healing. With therapy, boundaries, supportive people, and education about trauma, survivors begin to rebuild a life where pain is not punished, where illness is not mocked or minimized, where vulnerability is not an invitation for cruelty. Slowly, a new world forms, a world where the body can heal without fear, where rest is not a sign of weakness, where care is something offered freely rather than held hostage. And in this new world, survivors come to understand the real danger of getting sick around a narcissist. Not the illness itself, but the psychological battlefield it becomes. Because once you remove yourself from that battlefield, once the parasite can no longer drain you, something extraordinary happens. Your health, your mind, your creativity, and your future reveal themselves not as things you lost, but as things that had been held hostage. And now, finally, they are yours to reclaim. Psychologists often emphasize that this battery and bin cycle is not an exaggeration. It is the core of narcissistic pathology. To a narcissist, you were never a partner. You were a tool. As long as you functioned, offering attention, emotional labor, energy, support, admiration, you were valuable. The moment you became tired, confused, resistant, or unwell, they decided you were broken. This is the predictable slide from idealization to devaluation to disposal, a spiral that every survivor eventually recognizes in hindsight. And this is why your decline felt so systematic. The exhaustion, the sleepless nights, the panic attacks, the mysterious illnesses. None of it arrived at once, crept in quietly, layer by layer, like sinking slowly into cold water. Trauma specialists explain that the nervous system collapses gradually under chronic emotional threat. First goes your sleep, then your appetite, then your immune system, then your identity. The narcissist doesn't need to destroy you in one strike. The slow erosion is more effective. While all of this was happening, the narcissist maintained their performance. Psychologists call this dual reality management. One version of themselves for the outside world, another for you. Out there, they were composed, responsible, even admirable. At home, they were the source of the chaos that left you sick and unraveling. This contrast wasn't accidental, it was strategic. It allowed them to build a narrative where they were the stable one and you were the fragile one. This is the foundation of smear campaigns. When your health finally collapsed, they wanted everyone to believe it was all your fault. And as your health crumbled further, the narcissist's behavior shifted into something even colder. Psychologists identify this stage as compassion withdrawal. The slow, intentional removal of care until you are left completely deprived. One day they might make you tea when you're sick, the next day they mock you for needing rest. This creates a psychological shock so deep that the victim becomes trapped in confusion, desperately trying to restore the relationship, unable to understand why love suddenly feels like punishment. The narcissist counts on this paralysis. They know that as long as you're fighting for emotional survival, you won't have the strength to leave. But they were never confused. Narcissists have a chilling consistency. They chase supply, avoid responsibility, and protect their ego at all costs. This is why when you fell ill, they didn't step forward, they stepped back. Your illness demanded empathy, sacrifice, stability, patience. And these are traits they fundamentally do not possess. Instead, your vulnerability became an inconvenience, a reminder that real intimacy requires emotional labor they refused to give. So they neglected you, minimized you, criticized you, or mocked you, all while acting like they were the one carrying the burden. This is why psychologists warn that getting sick around a narcissist is like stepping onto a psychological battlefield. Your needs become threats. Your pain becomes ammunition. Your fatigue becomes a tool for them to dominate. And every moment you grew weaker, they fed the fantasy that they were the stronger, more stable partner. In their distorted world, compassion is weakness and illness is failure. So your sickness was never met with care, it was met with disdain. But here is the beautiful part. The moment you began to heal, even just a little, the narcissist began to lose their power. With every hour of sleep you regained, your mind sharpened. With every day your body repaired itself, your intuition reawakened. As your nervous system recalibrated, the fog they cast over you began to dissolve. What once felt normal now felt unbearable. What once felt confusing now felt obvious. What once looked like love now looked like manipulation. This terrifies the narcissist because the truth is simple. A healed version of you cannot be controlled. That is why they reappear with trivial questions, nostalgic bait, feigned concern, sudden emergencies, or comments about shared belongings. Psychologists call these hook attempts, small emotional intrusions designed to reopen the trauma bond. They don't miss you. They miss access to your empathy, your attention, your energy. They miss the version of you who didn't yet understand what they were doing. The real threat to a narcissist is not your absence. It's your healing. Because when you heal, you see the cycle clearly. You recognize the patterns. You stop absorbing their blame. You stop engaging with their provocations. You stop believing their stories. And once your clarity returns, their power evaporates. This is why no contact is more than a boundary. It is a psychological intervention. When you remove the poison, the body and mind begin repairing themselves in ways that feel miraculous. Sleep normalizes, mood steadies, energy rises, physical symptoms fade, and most importantly, your identity, the part they tried hardest to destroy, comes back to life. This is the quiet miracle of recovery. The person they tried to break slowly reemerges, whole, grounded, and alive in ways the narcissist never imagined you could be. And this time, your healing belongs entirely to you. There was a time when the narcissist looked at us and saw nothing of the light we carried, none of the fire, none of the brilliance, none of the quiet power that was always there. They didn't see us as the vibrant, capable humans we truly were. They saw something they could shrink, something they could feed on, something they could reshape to fit their own hunger. But the truth is, we were never small. We were simply unaware. We didn't yet have the knowledge, the perspective, the battle-tested wisdom that now rests in our hands like a rare and precious key. And once that kind of understanding settles into your bones, once it clicks in a way that can never be undone, you realize you belong to a tiny fraction of people who see the world and themselves with a clarity most will never reach. And when that truth finally surfaces, you can't push it back down. You can't pretend you didn't see what you saw or unlearn what you now know. Once you've healed enough to stand inside that awareness, the thought of returning to that old toxic orbit becomes impossible. You start moving through the world more quietly, more intentionally, almost weightlessly. Your energy turns inward. You nourish your own life, invest in your future, and give your time only to the people who've proven they deserve it. And somewhere along that journey, another truth reveals itself. The times when you were sick, overwhelmed, or barely holding on. Those exact moments were the ones the narcissist used to drift away, intensify their punishments, or twist your vulnerability into an opportunity for betrayal. They lied. They cheated. They manipulated money, sabotaged your connections, smeared your name, and found ways to fracture your support system exactly when you needed it the most. This is why distance isn't just recommended. It's required. Narcissists don't evolve. They decay. They dissolve from the inside out, corroding anything or anyone that stands too close. Their emotional atmosphere is a dense, stagnant, low-frequency swamp, and anyone who lingers in it gets dragged downward. That heaviness is their home. It's where they function best. It's their baseline, lower than the soil beneath your feet, soil that at least has the decency to produce life. And that difference is everything. Narcissists aren't searching for growth. They're searching for extraction. They don't build. They dismantle. They don't reflect. They attack. They live in shadows because the dark gives them an advantage. Striking when you're tired, rattling your peace when you're unguarded, draining you the moment they sense an opening. So understand this clearly. You must never again allow yourself to be emotionally, mentally, or physically unwell in their presence. In the past, you didn't have the awareness you do now. You didn't know that your weakness was not just inconvenient for them, it was useful. Some of them even helped create it. I hate how familiar that truth feels because I learned it the hard way through several medical crises of my own. Major surgeries, a detached retina, moments when I truly needed care. And instead of compassion, I met cruelty. Instead of support, I met exploitation. That's why I'm sharing this with you now, not to reopen old wounds, but to reinforce your strength, to remind you of the clarity you've earned, and to make sure that, from this point forward, you protect that light of yours with everything you've got.